So in this video I going to show how to stop and restart these timers, because I can stop and run and restart the timer I have just explained and shown. But the big question, how can I do the same thing with these slotted timers? Okay, so in order to do that, we should find a machinery which is able to find any elements assigned or embedded during runtime into these slots. So let's check out how can we do that. First of all, let's use a function, a decorator function. It is called query assigned nodes. This assigned nodes is for slots, assign nodes. And then how we can use it, assign nodes for a slot is, let's just enter it here, query assign nodes, and the first parameter is the name of the slot, and the name of the slot, because it is empty, the default slot, just keep it as empty. And then it's what is important, it returns a node list of HTML elements. Actually this is not completely true, but I'm going to show how to use it. That is, give the name default div slot nodes, and then its type is node list of HTML elements. But since almost every lit element, regular web components has so this definitely has a default slot, because this is the slot we are talking about. If it had name, for example, in the before, here we could just create another slot like, and it could be before, that's the name of the slot, and before slot nodes. So this is the way we can have at runtime, after instantiation, when this component is used, what nodes the browser has included into this web component. Okay, and then how can we find our objects? So that's now a tricky solution. Let me just create a function called query slot element all, and then the first parameter is slot nodes, which is the same type as this. That is the input parameter. Here I'm expecting one of these query assign nodes function, and the second one is just a name. In our case, in my case here, is just a string. And then it would return simply an array of HTML element Okay, so this is how I'd define the return type. right? And then the function itself, yep, and because it's a function, it requires some return value. Am I right? HTML element, a function whose type is neither void nor any, must return a value. Sure. And then let's get first the slot children. That is, we are not interested in any with all of the nodes. We are interested in only elements, and elements which has the query selector all function. And how to do that? Const slot children array and from array from slot nodes, and then just filter elements that has function query selector all. You see? So this is the possibility, that is because this query selector all is not defined in every element. For the sake of demonstration, let me just show you that console.log slot children Okay, first let's just display slot nodes which we receive, and then I show you what is the difference. Of course, we have to return HTML element, so let's just return slot children. HTML element array. Okay, let's use this syntax instead. So slot HTML array. Okay, cool. And how can we display? Let me just, because this is the, when a stop button is going to be used, this is where I'm going to use this query selector anyway. So therefore, let me just expand this function. Okay, for the sake of fun, okay, so let's extend this function and then comment out this runtime handler and just simply use this const timers. Eventually this is what we want, this dot query slot element all, giving a def this dot def slot nodes, and the name of my parameter is my timer. Okay, this is the name of my objects I am looking for. Okay, cool. Stop. So cool. What it does, so this query slot diff slot nodes, so these query assign nodes, diff slot node returns all of these elements, this text, data, and then it also contains a paragraph, a p paragraph, and then another text, another text, and then we have the p, and then another text, and then we don't need these text elements, just the paragraph elements. Because when we have a look our index, all I have here 1, 2, 3 paragraphs. This is child content, p slot. Interesting, we have here 4 paragraphs, and this lists only 1, 2, 3 of them. Anyhow, we will see shortly. What is the first paragraph? Yes, this is child content, so that's the first one. The second one, here comes the counter button. Because it is not part of the default slot, but it is part of the sorry, it is not a default slot, it is part of the before slot. So that's why we have sorry, it's too late in the night. So that's why we have only 3, because in the default slot, that's what we are looking for in our application, the default slot, we have only 1, 2, 3 paragraphs. So but we don't interested in this text. The reason we are not interested in text nodes, since they don't have the function query selector. Okay, so coming back, then let's just display the slot children. Okay, excellent. Now we have the slot children, and when I open any of these, I should be able to see that here you go, first child is my timer. So I want to find these timers within these paragraphs, you see. Okay, excellent. So the next step is then, so we have all of the functions, all of the elements that have the query selector function, and the next is just use the following function, const selected elements, elements, let's use this, and then slot children, then dot map, and then when the element is just to use the element query selector all with the name that we defined. That is, for each of the paragraphs we are invoking the query selector with the name paragraph, and we will see if we can have these elements, and then let's just show them here. When I press stop, here you go, it provides node list, 3 node lists. And the 3 node lists, the first is empty, the second one is empty, however the third one, it contains 2 my timer, which is brilliant. Exactly this is what we are looking for. So we have a paragraph and it has a my timer, and also within that timer, my timer, there is an embedded my timer, that is altogether we have 2 timers. So thankfully this query selector is smart enough that when it was invoked on this paragraph element that is here, it was able to find both of the timers for us. Excellent. Now we have this array of node lists. How can we convert that then into just a regular array list? This is where I want to use a reducer and a concatenator, and the way I am doing is that const, let's just simply call it array equals then selected elements dot reduce and the first is an accumulator, the second one is the value, and then a function accumulator concat val and then initialize Mhm. Okay, what I have to do here is just create it in an array dot from okay, now it is an array. Okay, I was just fiddling with this syntax. It's really tricky. So that is from the slot children. It's a mapping. It's really too late. Then I'm going to create. I call the query selector all for each of the element, and then I'm converting into an array, and then I'm using this reducer. Accumulator is an empty, and then this is the concatenation function, which is actually doing the hard job. And let's check out what do we have in the array. Press stop. Excellent. That's exactly what we are expecting. And then what this magic code, this reduce combined with the concatenator is doing, that it also eliminates this empty element. So eventually with this sequence of functions call, we have this array, and then actually this is what I'm going to return. So let's array. Yes, but it says element is not assignable HTML element, of course, and therefore what I am doing here is just as HTML element array, and voila, it works completely fine. And when I have then this list of my timer, then the next job is just to set their value to each of them, these parameters. But here definitely we cannot just simply use this syntax, because we have only here a list of the timers. Okay, so therefore what we can do is to iterate over them. That is timers dot for each, for example, for each, and execute the timer t, and remove the attribute or add the attribute depending on the value of our runtimer settings. That is t if it is this dot runtimer if it's run timer, then we remove, because then we want to stop them. Then t dot remove attribute, and the attribute is the run. Otherwise we just set the attributes, that is t dot set attribute run, the value could be anything, but let's be consistent, change it to true. Yep, so this is the for each command that I want to execute, and of course I also just use the good old timer. Let's check out if it's gonna work. No, let's see if it works. Haha, brilliant. Timers, all the timers stopped and restarted. Stop, restart, stop, restart. So this is one way. Possibly this is a tricky part. Possibly there are other options to find out, but then I found and elaborated this machinery. How can I find all of these slotted elements and then control them, all of them and each. And also one more thing, let me just display an alert and see how it works. That is after setting. Then let's use window dot alert and display a message. If our timers is not empty, therefore timers dot length, so I display timers have been, then definitely I can use again this function here, that is stopped, or that is this dot run timer. Since now we are after this modification, that is the run timer, if it's run, then started or stopped. Yeah, this is the alert function. Let's check out if it works. Let's press stop. Here you go, and that is 2 timers have been stopped, of course, because these are the 2 slotted timers. Okay, let's just modify this, that slotted timers stopped. 2 slotted timers have been stopped, and run. 2 slotted timers have been started. Hey, but the problem is, where are the values? And here is a very fancy thing. This alert is blocking the entire loop, the user interface. So keep this in mind, that it is not running. However, behind the scene, the machinery works, but only what's happening that the user interface is not updated, because when I press the OK, then this whole process would be started. But this is going to happen only if I add one more important thing. If we want to give a chance for the application to really update and start the machinery, then we have to add here our await new, which I've done promise, and r set timeout r, and let's just give 1 millisecond. So this is not really, and of course because we have await, then we have to make it async. And the reason I am doing this, that before invoking alert, I want to give a chance for the whole infrastructure to get started, because without this, the timers are not started, they are going to be started after the alert. But with this await, my expectation that timers are going to be started immediately. So let's just stop them. That's okay, because then they will have 0 value. But let's just press run. Let's wait for a couple of, you see at their value that 0 zeros have been updated on the screen. But when I press OK, you see the 12-13 minutes. So the behind the scene, the whole machinery started. That is the generator, the yield generator functions are operational. That is, the timers have been actually generated. So that is, keep in mind that in practice, when you call a function, a very dangerous, a very, how to say, a killer function like alert, make sure before alerting, just give a chance for your machinery to update itself to avoid situation which I try to explain. And then stop, run. Yep, and they are running perfectly fine. So, my friends, I think that was all, more or less. And actually this concludes my series of explanation. Maybe one more thing I could have added, some special situation, but then it's not that terribly important. So take care and enjoy working with web components. My opinion, they are so excellent, especially with this lit tools. Remember, lit is maintained by a group working for Google, so this is a Google project, not just a regular fancy, how to say, one-man band shows from somewhere. So it is supported excellently, and it is not a new tool. As I mentioned earlier, this was derived, this is an offspring of the Polymer project, and this is really mature. It has an excellent tooling, HTML, lit HTML. Since just check out, which I always love to demonstrate. Let's say, let's just click here, this pen. How do they work? And where else do we have timers? We have timer here too, and all of them working excellently. and you can include even maybe hundreds of timers, and they work brilliantly. And all of this machinery is because of this HTML. It provides an excellent diffing engine to make us possible to program in a reactive way. So it is not only React.js that is reactive, this whole lit is reactive, and not only reactive because of the fancy and excellent machinery. This provides you both a combination, and in my opinion, an excellent combination of both reactive programming as well as traditional imperative programming. I have demonstrated a number of situations where an imperative way is a much more cleaner, easier to follow. It's there than the reactive. However, the reactive way is brilliant for example, for this. This is excellent. Okay, friends, so that was all, and take care.